Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump reveals the U.S. is dealing with a group of Iranian leaders who want to make a deal. What's in his latest olive branch to warning, and what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz as the U.S. today strikes an Iranian ship? President Trump is expected to raise China's purchase of Iranian oil during his visit to Beijing next week. What U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer says about the upcoming meeting. A look at the latest midterm primary results. President Trump's popularity put to the test in Indiana and a high-profile rematch in Ohio. The World Health Organization says it isn't aware of any changes to a virus strain found on a cruise ship that would make it more transmissible. The vessel is currently off Cape Verde with nearly 150 people on board. CNN founder Ted Turner, a pioneer of cable TV news, dies at 87. What President Trump has to say.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. President Trump says the U.S. is in talking with people in Iran, and they want to make a deal. It comes as he paused an initiative to guide ships in the Strait of Hormuz while the U.S. naval blockade remains in full effect. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Iris, good afternoon. What's the latest from what you're hearing from the president?
Good afternoon to you as well, Don. So at the White House just moments ago, President Trump revealing that they're now talking with a group of Iranian leaders who do want to make a deal very much. And he also stresses that the U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz remains in full effect, calling it like a wall of steel. Watch.
We're dealing with people that want to make a deal very much, and we'll see whether or not they can make a deal that's satisfactory to us. We have it very much under control. The blockade is unbelievable. The Navy's been incredible. The job they did is like a wall of steel. Nobody goes through. In particular, the Iranians, they're not getting anything through one way or the other, so they're out of business. And we'll see whether or not they are agreeing. And if they don't agree, they'll end up agreeing shortly thereafter. So that's the way it is.
And now Tehran says that it has received a U.S. proposal and is now reviewing that proposal. Meanwhile, it comes after President Trump paused Project Freedom, an initiative that he started just 2 days ago to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz. He says he's pausing it now because there's latest progress in talks with Iran. And just earlier, President Trump taking to Truth Social to post a new progress report about the talks, as well as giving a new warning to Iran, saying that he would end the war and offers safe passage for vessels through the strait if Iran, quote, agrees to give what has been agreed. He also says that if they don't agree, the bombing starts, warning that further U.S. attacks will be at a much higher level and intensity. Meanwhile, the blockade is still effective in that key waterway where 1/5 of the world's oil passes through. Central Command announcing just also moments ago that it has struck an Iranian ship that tried to pass through the Strait of Hormuz and reach an Iranian port just this morning. It says that it fired at the ship after it ignored multiple warnings from the U.S. Navy. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasizing the diplomatic path is what's preferred, but Iran shouldn't test President Trump's resolve. Watch.
It could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. They really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose.
Meanwhile, as President Trump is set to visit China in the coming weeks, the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said this morning, saying that a topic of discussion includes, for example, China's purchases of Iranian oil, as well as efforts to help Iran evade sanctions. And yesterday at the White House, the Secretary of State telling NTD that human rights issues will also come up. Don.
So, Iris, tell us more about the event itself where the president spoke at today. What's the theme?
Sure. So the president today hosted military moms at the White House in celebration of upcoming Mother's Day. And he said that military mothers would be glad to hear the latest progress when it comes to a deal with Iran. He also thanked them for their sacrifice. The First Lady also stressing that President Trump do have a lot of care for the military families. Watch.
You've missed holidays, birthday parties, graduations, or even a child's first words. You do it all because you love America, you love our country. And this week, as we prepare to celebrate Mother's Day, we take this opportunity on behalf of all of us to say thank you very much.
Most know my husband as the strong commander-in-chief, but his empathy transcends the role and shape a caring leader who constantly remembers each and every American soldier is someone's child.
And in a heartwarming moment, the president honoring the mom of a National Guard called Andrew Wolf, who was shot in D.C. about 5 months ago. The mom coming up to the podium to recount her son's miraculous recovery. Watch.
We had the nation behind us at a time when nobody thought our boy would make it. He was 24 years old. He was a young man on the streets of D.C. A shot to the left part of his brain. We have a strong faith in God, and God is what brought our son through this.
And President Trump actually honored the family at the State of the Union that he gave. And also today he said that it's really the mom's will that truly helped with the situation, also calling it a miracle that he has never seen. Don.
All right, Iris, thank you. U.S. Central Command says 52 vessels have been redirected amid the blockade of Iranian ports. A photo posted on X showed the USS George H.W. Bush, an aircraft carrier, among the U.S. warships, aircraft, and personnel enforcing the naval blockade. U.S. forces operating on the Gulf of Oman disabled an Iranian-flagged oil tanker today on international waters. CENTCOM said the vessel had been on its way to an Iranian port. According to CENTCOM, American forces issued multiple warnings, informing the ship that it was in violation of the U.S. blockade. After the tanker's crew failed to comply, a U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet from the USS Abraham Lincoln fired several rounds, disabling the vessel's rudder. CENTCOM said the blockade against ships attempting to enter or depart Iranian ports remains in full effect. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Israel is in full coordination with the United States over Iran.
We share common objectives, and the most important objective is the removal of enriched material from Iran, all of the enriched material, and the dismantling of Iran's enrichment capabilities. President Trump believes he can achieve this one way or another.
Netanyahu says he speaks with President Trump almost daily, and their teams are in contact on a daily basis, including today. And Netanyahu says he will speak with Trump again later tonight. The Israeli Prime Minister adds that Israel is prepared for any scenario, and the nation's strategic position remains strong despite regional tensions. France is moving its aircraft carrier strike group to the Red Sea. They say this could be a potential mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz. The French military says its only aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, is crossing the Suez Canal en route to the southern Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The French president's office says the move is, quote, a signal that not only are we ready to secure the Strait of Hormuz, but that we're also capable of doing so. France and Britain have been coordinating a proposal that aims to ensure safe transit through the strait once the situation stabilizes. The French military says the deployment of the aircraft carrier seeks to speed up that initiative. France adding that the blockade of the strait is causing severe damage to the global economy with serious risks for France. Oil prices extended declines today, slumping to two-week lows after President Trump's phone call with PBS this morning. He says the U.S. is closing in on a deal with Iran. Here's more.
Oil prices extended declines on Wednesday and dropped to two-week lows. Brent crude futures fell just over $10 or above 9% to $99.80 a barrel by mid-morning in European trading. though later climbed back over the $100 mark. It was the first time Brent had fallen below $100 since April 22nd. US West Texas Intermediate also lost around 6% of its value in early US trade. Both benchmarks were on track for their biggest daily falls in absolute terms in a month. US media outlet Axios reported Washington expects Iranian responses on several key points in the next 48 hours on a reported peace agreement. It cited sources saying this was the closest the parties had come to a deal since the war began. The US military said on Monday it destroyed a number of Iranian small boats in efforts to help stranded ships to exit the Strait of Hormuz. Crude oil prices have gone up since February after supply was disrupted when marine traffic through the strait was halted after the war began. Brent traded at its highest in more than 4 years last week. The strait's closure has led to a drawdown in global oil and fuel inventories as refineries try to offset production shortfalls.
Iran is reviewing a U.S. proposal to end the war, an Iranian foreign minister spokesperson said on Wednesday, according to Iran's ISNA news agency. Joining us now to discuss is Dr. John Marshall Callahan, foreign policy analyst and adjunct professor at the Institute of World Politics. So, Professor, good afternoon. Thank you for coming on today. So, Trump says if Iran agrees to what has been given to it by the U.S., then Operation Epic Fury will end. But Trump also saying if they don't agree, the bombing starts at a much higher level and intensity than before. What is your feeling right now if we are close to an end to the war right now?
Maybe. And I say that because the Iranians this time are actually acknowledging that they're reviewing the proposal. Over the last few weeks, you've seen the White House say on occasion that there's a proposal out there or there's going to be a meeting, and the Tehran administration or regime, whoever they are, just denies that they're even talking. So I think that there's room for hope.
Okay, so then who's in charge right now? Because President Trump has said before, nobody really knows who's running the country. And if Iran agrees to the terms of the U.S., can they speak for the whole country in terms of these negotiations?
I don't want to be contradictory in my response. I think it's difficult to know the totality of who is running Iran. We're not sure that the supreme leader is even, out of a coma. We know historically that there are religious elements, political elements, and military elements vying for control. That's always been that way. So I think on one hand, it is difficult to know who's in charge. On the other hand, though, I think that if we get a ceasefire or if we get a cease of operations, I think largely it would hold. And if it didn't, then there would be a response, but that response would not necessarily be an all-out bombing campaign. We'd know that we were dealing with rogue elements and deal directly with them, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you're saying if the U.S. and Iran comes to an agreement or a deal that this is going to hold, how do we know Iran will keep their promises, especially when we're talking about years into the future? How do we make sure?
I think ultimately that an administration in Iran, and I'll say administration and not regime, they needed an administration that is different from the one they have now, that is fundamentally in sync with the U.S. and the rest of the world on how it's bad to control the Straits of Hormuz in this way. It's bad to export terrorism, etc. So I think that a change is needed long term. To ensure this. I mean, if we had an administration that was friendly to us, we wouldn't have to worry about their nuclear intent or their negative intent with control in the straits, right?
Okay, so Professor, at the beginning you said maybe the war is coming to an end. You said maybe. So do you think Iran would agree to remove its highly enriched uranium from the country? Because I think that is one point in the deal. Are they going to agree to that?
I think they're going to have to for an agreement to be struck. I think that is the one thing that President Trump must have in order to have a successful conclusion to this. So they're going to have to for it to end in a way where they're in control. If that makes sense.
Okay, so you're saying they're going to have to. Do you think it's likely, or are they going to drag their feet on this point?
I think they've been dragging the whole time, and maybe with both sides admitting that there are talks going on, maybe they've decided to stop the dragging and realize that they need to act. I mean, the U.S. Paused Operation Freedom, and my view on that is they paused it because it was working, and the ultimate threat, if the Iranian regime can't control the straits anymore, then they've got no leverage at all. So I think that the play we're doing right now is to back off a little bit, let them make the right decision, and hopefully they do it.
Okay, so you bring up Operation Project Freedom, right? So, I mean, why pause it if it's working? Because if you look at it from the other side, if it's working, wouldn't that pressure Iran more? And if there's more pressure, wouldn't Iran be more likely to agree to U.S. terms?
It could be. It could be. I think that this was done, as President Trump said, out of encouraging signs coming out of Pakistan. I hope that's true. I think it could easily be turned back on, and if we have to turn the escort back on, then that's a path that will show to the world that Iran can't control the straits. So I think maybe Iran will give up before they reach that point. I hope.
Okay, let me ask you this, Professor. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in his first press briefing, because he's substituting for Caroline Leavitt, he said the U.S. achieved all their objectives set out from the beginning in Operation Epic Fury. Do you agree that Iran now has no navy, its missiles have been largely destroyed, and its nuclear ambitions have been severely curtailed? Do you agree on those points?
Yeah, I agree on those points. Now, that doesn't mean that they completely lack capability. I mean, they ran some speedboats out yesterday to try and mess with ships. They can fire some drones and missiles, but I think to a large extent, the objectives have been met.
Okay, I want to get your thoughts on this, because this is happening today as well. The Iranian foreign minister said that he had a constructive meeting in Beijing with his Chinese counterpart. In your view, I mean, he's saying that Tehran trusts China. Why are they talking right now? What do you think is the purpose of this meeting amid a war with the U.S.? Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think this is another sign that there may be actual movement soon, because the Iranians haven't gone to China. I don't think since this started, and it's certainly been a while. I think I can't put myself into the thinking of those in Beijing, but I can only imagine that the People's Republic of China, their economy is at risk, just like everybody else's, from continued high oil prices. And so you also asked why does Iran trust China? Well, they've been in the Axis together along with Russia and North Korea for some time, and I think that maybe they even want Beijing to sign off on them, reaching an agreement with us.
All right, Professor, just one final question here. If you were to make an assessment, Iran now compared to at the beginning of the war or even before that, is Iran now more likely to agree to U.S. terms compared to before? Has there been a change in the Iranians' attitude toward these negotiations? And if there is a change, if Iran is more willing now to come to the table, what has changed? What is causing this change in attitude?
So I think that they are more willing now. I think they're sort of showing that they're more willing, and than they were before the war started. And one reason is they have a lot more to lose. Their economy has been bombed in tatters. They see risks to their regime, but also I think that the U.S. counter blockade, of their blockade, really hurts, and it allowed us to sort of control the flow in and out of the Straits of Hormuz, and allowed us to keep them from profiting too much from the straits being closed by running their own oil in and out, and that basically I think is a huge deal in pushing them toward changing their minds.
Yeah, and President Trump has said Iran is losing $500 million a day due to the U.S. blockade. And of course, with that, its oil wells are also under threat because their oil containers are filling up because it can't get its oil out, right? So these are some of the things that's putting pressure on Iran right now. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, Professor, today. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The White House releasing its 2026 counterterrorism report, what it identifies as the 3 biggest terror threats to America. The World Health Organization says it isn't aware of any changes to a virus strain found on a cruise ship that would make it more transmissible. The vessel is currently off Cape Verde with nearly 150 people on board. We have more news after this break. Don't go away.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritan green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritan green vegetable omega-3.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
President Trump addressing the rising cost estimate for his planned White House ballroom. He now puts the price tag near $400 million. The original price estimate was $200 million. In a Truth Social post today, the president says after deep-rooted studies, the ballroom will roughly be twice the size and a far higher quality than the original proposal. He says the original size will not have been adequate to handle the necessary events, meetings, and future inaugurations. The president goes on to say this was a necessary change. It was done long ago, and it's coming in ahead of schedule and under budget. The president previously said private donations would pay for the project. His comments come after Senate Republicans proposed $1 billion in funding for security upgrades to the ballroom. The White House today releasing its 2026 counterterrorism strategy. It names 3 main sources of terror threats and 3 goals to tackle them. The document says, U.S. currently faces 3 major types of terror groups: narco-terrorists and transnational gangs, legacy Islamist terrorists, and violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists. The report goes on to say that the administration will tackle them by identifying terror actors and exploits before they happen, cutting them off in terms of funding, arms, and recruiting streams, and ultimately destroying established threat groups. President Trump says in the foreword of the report, quote, "Our new U.S. counterterrorism strategy is a return to common sense and peace through strength. If you hurt Americans or are planning to hurt Americans, we will find you and we will kill you." The World Health Organization says it isn't aware of any changes to a virus strain found on a cruise ship that would make it more transmissible. The organization's director of Epidemic and Pandemic Management says sequencing has been conducted on 2 of the 8 infected individuals from the vessel.
This is really enough for us at the moment to, understand that it's the Andes virus. I have to say that since the beginning, we've been assuming that it is the Andes virus, just given the path of the ship, given that it started in Argentina and that it's been moving up the coast of Africa in the Atlantic. So it was an assumption that we had just based on, and as you know, hantaviruses are common in rodents and people can get infected with this, but there are many different types of hantaviruses. So that's why the sequencing is important.
The WHO believes the Andes strain may have been spread through close contact between individuals on the ship. The organization cautioned that its spread was different from COVID-19 and influenza. According to the WHO, the virus appears to spread through close contact, sneezing, and coughing. 3 patients with suspected infections were being evaluated from a cruise ship evacuated as well to the Netherlands today. The vessel is currently off Cape Verde with nearly 150 people on board, including 17 Americans. It's waiting to head to Spain's Canary Islands. Now a look at the latest midterm primary results. Voters from Indiana and Ohio choosing their party nominees for the 2026 midterms. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the takeaways.
Republicans in Indiana that were backed by President Trump fared much better as a whole than those who've bucked the president. Indiana is one Republican stronghold which failed to fall in line with President Trump's mid-decade redistricting push, and that's because there were several Republican state senators who opposed a congressional map last year that would have given Republicans a stronger edge in the 2026 midterms. Now, because of that, President Trump sought to unseat those incumbents. He endorsed 7 primary challengers to unseat them, 6 of whom were successful. As for Indiana's congressional races, both on the Republican and the Democrat side, the incumbents easily sailed to victory. In Ohio, there were also several high-profile races. Of course, at the top of the ticket was the Ohio governor's race. Vivek Ramaswamy, a former Republican presidential candidate, won the nomination. He told voters in his victory speech that his vision is to return Ohio to its full potential.
The state where Dayton led in computing, the state where my hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City, will once again be at the forefront of our country, the bleeding edge of our country from the center of our country.
He'll face Democratic nominee Amy Acton in November, but it could still be an uphill battle for Democrats because Ohio has not had a Democrat governor for the past 15 years. As for Ohio's congressional races, primary results have teed up a rematch in a race that was very close during the last cycle. Republican nominee Derek Marin, a former Ohio lawmaker, is trying to unseat the longest-serving member of Congress, that is the Democrat incumbent, Marcy Kaptur. She served in her seat for 22 terms. Ohio was also impacted by the nationwide redistricting battle. The state approved a map that will make Democrat-held seats more competitive. For example, Congressman Greg Landsman, who's the Democrat incumbent, won his primary, but he'll face a tighter race this year against the Republican nominee, a former CIA officer, Eric Conroy. Both Landsman's seat and Kaptur's seats were both targets of Republicans during the last cycle, but they failed to flip them. They're hopeful that the redistricting will make it easier for them to do so this time around. There's also a Senate race in Ohio this year. Former Democrat Senator Sherrod Brown is trying to make a comeback to the Senate after having lost his seat to the Republican Bernie Moreno. But this time he's not going to be having a rematch against Moreno. Instead, Brown is trying to take the seat of Republican Senator John Husted, who wasn't elected by voters, but instead appointed to his seat by the governor to fill the seat left open by Vice President J.D. Vance. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Democrats are maintaining control of the Michigan State Senate following a key special election win. Democrat Shedrick Green defeating Republican Jason Tunney in the state's 35th Senate district, preserving his party's majority in the chamber. The win expands Democrats' edge from 19 to 18 to 20 to 18. In November, all Senate seats will be back on the ballot. The seat had been vacant since early 2025, sparking controversy over delays in scheduling the election. Green is a Marine veteran and fire chief. He was endorsed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. He says he plans to focus on working families. Is the U.S. overlooking a major strategic opportunity in its foreign policy? We talked to an analyst about the Geneva Consensus Declaration after this break. A new federal lawsuit alleges the New York Times denied a veteran white male editor in a promotion specifically to meet diversity quotas. Stay tuned for more in just a moment.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here? I can see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythesun.org.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School, college first-round draft pick. On and off the field, we were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating, but I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Is the U.S. overlooking a major strategic opportunity in its foreign policy? Joining us now to discuss this is Valerie Huber, President and CEO of the Institute for Women's Health. So Valerie, so good to have you here. Good afternoon. And I saw that you... Good afternoon. I saw that you wrote an article called America is Overlooking One of Its Strongest Global Alliances. So I'm wondering if you could talk to us more about this, and what is the Geneva Consensus Declaration?
Well, so good to be on today, and I'm very happy to talk about this because I think this is a perfect opportunity where the Trump administration has really directed a reset in what our foreign policy abroad looks like and our foreign assistance. So here at the Institute for Women's Health, our vision is every woman, every age, achieving her optimal health. The Geneva Consensus Declaration is a coalition of now 41 nations representing over 2.5 billion people who are saying, we support authentic health, we support strengthening the family as foundational to society, and we believe in partnership, not pressure when it comes to foreign policy. And we agree it is an avenue for the United States government that is in plain sight that corresponds to what they're trying to accomplish.
Okay, so what is America overlooking exactly when it comes to this coalition, this alliance?
Well, they've done a very good job of pushing a reset on how our foreign assistance is distributed. They've been very clear that this should not be an avenue to promote radical ideologies. Particularly things in countries that the people have a different view in the country, whether it's about abortion, whether it's about DEI. But unfortunately, our foreign assistance in the past has been used exactly to direct that. The Geneva Consensus Declaration was begun under President Trump in 2020 and has since grown from 6 nations to 41 nations spanning every major region of the world. And instead of countries being pressured or making short-term agreements for long-term falling away, the Geneva Consensus Declaration is a group of countries who are coming together not through force, but because they are aligned on these same values, want to work with the United States. And this is exactly corresponding to what the America First foreign policy is looking at. These two alliances need to come in greater coordination. And the United States government has an opportunity with 41 countries, which could grow in these next 3 years, of countries who are saying, we want the same thing, let's work together to achieve it.
Okay, so Valerie, as you were speaking, I saw the B-roll playing of the G7, and that raised a question in my mind. What is the core difference between this Geneva Consensus Declaration coalition of countries, between the G7 coalition of countries?
Well, it's huge because, unfortunately, many of the countries in the G7 are the very ones who provide foreign assistance to developing nations. And instead of using it to actually address the most pressing needs that are good for that country, but also are good for the country that is providing that foreign assistance because it expands the national security and stability of a country when people are healthy, people are economically secure, when there is not civil war breaking out. And all of those things are tied to the provisions of the Geneva Consensus Declaration. The difference is the G7 countries, by and large, for decades, have been pushing their ideologies on the developing world and holding hostage the things that their taxpayers, and even here in the United States under previous administrations, have thought we're going to solve the world's greatest needs, but instead we're using to push ideologies that were foreign to the country and foreign even to those taxpayers who are paying for it. Totally different. In fact, a diametrically opposed paradigm between what so many countries in the global north are ascribing to and how they're defining their foreign assistance and foreign policy. But the United States is taking a different tact, and I can't be happier.
Okay, understood. Can you also paint us a picture here of how the U.S. can make good use of the Geneva coalition of countries to its benefit? Maybe you can give us some real-world practical examples.
Sure. Well, I like to say that, and I believe that Secretary Rubio said that it's America first, but not America alone. If we're looking at our national security, why would we want to aggravate countries that should be natural partners simply over a disagreement of ideology? And I'm not speaking of the Trump administration here, but previous administrations. What is unique and what would be a real life example is right now the State Department is negotiating bilateral conversations, but also bilateral agreements with countries that are members of the Geneva Consensus Declaration, some that aren't but could be. But instead of us sending our foreign assistance to those countries via NGOs who are actually working to upset the stability in the country, working to upset the values of the country, we're going directly to the leaders, identifying what the greatest needs are, and then working out a memorandum of understanding to not only meet those needs, but also to meet what will protect America and which will increase rather than decrease goodwill between those partners. Here's another example. In a previous administration, in one of the poorest countries of the world that has one of the very highest maternal mortality rates, in fact, in one whole region of the country, the entire northern part of the country, there was not a single health clinic or hospital. And so understandably, if a woman is pregnant and gives birth and has any kind of complications, her chances of survival are very, very slim because there is no clinic to go to. But in other administrations, rather than focusing on that, we were focusing on exporting abortion or gender ideologies abroad. It's such a difference. And really, it doesn't even matter where a person falls on values on these topics. I think all of us can agree that if there is a death that could be prevented to a woman, a girl, or a member of a family, not because a new diagnosis and treatment and cure has to be discovered, but simply because we're holding the health of those individuals hostage over ideologies while we're telling our people that their taxpayer dollars are being used to meet those pressing needs. I think the Trump administration has said it's been long enough, it's been decades, and we're going to do something different. The Geneva Consensus Declaration is a ready-made coalition to not only partner with the U.S. now, but to carry these good policies forward far beyond the lights are turned off on the Trump administration.
Okay, speaking of which then, what are some of the core values of this group of 41 countries?
Yeah, so it's a very diverse group of countries that disagree on a lot of other issues, but on these four priorities, they have come together and said, not only do we agree, but we want to defend our sovereign right to defend and protect our people and to improve their health consistent with our values in our country rather than external pressure. And they are these. Wherever a country currently is, they commit to improve health and thriving for women and girls. And all of us can do better. Number two, we recognize that a strong country is only as strong as its families. And so the commitment is to strengthen the families. Number three, to agree together that there is no international right to abortion. In other words, it's up to the country to decide. Just like here in the United States, we don't want another foreign actor, whether a country, whether another country, whether a foundation, whether an international organization, we don't want them coming to our country and tell us what we must do. It's up to us to decide. And then the fourth, which really is the icing on the cake and what connects all of these things, is the sovereign responsibility of countries over their people and the sovereign right of them to legislate according to the mandate given by their people, not some foreign globalist who is holding hostage foreign assistance or other kinds of partnership over them giving up the values of their country and the mandate that their people have given them.
Right. All right. So let me try to understand this coalition a bit more. Do they have a lot of influence on the global stage? What is the combined level of sway this bloc of Geneva Consensus countries have on the world stage?
So it has a growing influence. I will say, as I think I mentioned, it began with 6 countries and it is now 41. Representing every region of the world. If you think of a small country, and I'm thinking of one country that their entire population is 1 million people. If pressure comes to their borders, it's very easy for a country like that to be intimidated and threatened into silence and acquiescence. But when they are standing together with other small countries, with other medium countries, and with other large countries, their voice is much greater than the sum of its part. It is amplified and it is multiplied. Then within the first 100 hours of the Trump administration, President Trump rejoined the United States. So now during these next almost 3 years, think of the impact that this coalition already has, but what it can now accelerate as the world's the world's leader, as being a part of this. We can see this coalition grow from 41 countries, I believe, to 80 countries. And that becomes a tipping point where never again can a foundation that is pushing progressive ideals, a hostile nation that is trying to change the laws of that country, a foundation that is holding hostage a whole nation over foreign assistance. Never again can that happen. And never again can a U.S. administration do that either. So I think we have a real opportunity for growth, acceleration, and amplification of what started very small, has grown over the last 5 years, and now on year 6, the U.S. is in. Other countries are standing tall, and now we need to be that force that a coalition of this kind can actually achieve for the betterment of all of our people.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. This is a huge opportunity that if the U.S. takes advantage of, it could lead to some incredible things. But Valerie, thank you so much for your excellent explanation on this topic, on this issue today. Thank you for speaking with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
President Trump is speaking right now in the Oval Office. Let's take a listen.
And these are the great champions. And as you know, on June 14th, we're having a big fight. It's never going to happen again. Never happened before. And it's all of the best fighters, the best 4 fighters standing right behind me, and all champions. And it's going to happen right in front of the White House. Here's a picture. I think a lot of people haven't seen this yet. I'll give you that. I think you'll probably be able to do okay with it.
Wow. The media's going to go crazy.
Not bad, right? Championship belt. Dana White was here last night. Did you know that? He was here last night.
No.
He loves this guy. He loves all of them. Here's another one. This is another. They're going all the way out, all online. It's all people invited. Our country is invited to this. It's free. And you know, in the park right across the street, they're going to have, I guess, anywhere from 75 to 100,000 people, free. They're going to set up 8 big screens, and they're going to have the fight. And then out here, we're going to have 4,000 seats right in front of the front door of the White House. hardest ticket I've ever had to.
Best live show on earth, June 14th.
This will be the greatest show on earth. Is at night. That's all lighting and cover. And I think you get the idea. So it's going to be June 14th, and it's going to be great. And this is a little different for these political people. And but these are real warriors. When we talk about warriors, these are warriors. Cyril Gahn, these are all champions. I have to say champions, and most of you know, many of you know who they are. Cyril, great honor. Alex Pereira, I've seen him knock out a lot of people. That's what he does. He knocks out people. Congratulations on an unbelievable career. Wow. Ilya Topuria, who they say does not get tougher. So it's pretty much, I mean, that's it. They're very special. And a friend of mine, Justin Gaethje, who is just a fighter like you've never seen. You see the kind of pounding he'll take, and then all of a sudden it's over, and the other guy's not in good shape, right?
It's a crazy game.
Not in good shape. So these are the toughest people. These are the greatest fighters in the world. They're all champions, and they'll be fighting against very tough people also. And but I think you always go in thinking you're going to win. Of course. But they're fighting against. They're Olympians. They come from all over the world. Some come from extreme poverty. Some come from. Not too many people come from Fifth Avenue for the most part. I would say Fifth Avenue is not well covered in the sport, but it's a special group of people with tremendous heart and really tremendous talent. And I really believe you're probably born with the punch, and you're born with an ability to take a punch too. I was talking to Dana White last night. He was talking about that. Some people can take a punch, and some people can't. And in life, it's always good to be able to do that. And if you guys want to say anything, I don't want to pick out individual, but if you want to say anything, you could. But we're going to see you all here on June 14th.
Yeah, I mean, what an unbelievable honor. I mean, I'm not sure many know how big of a part you were to the UFC coming on and becoming mainstream in the early 90s when nobody would let us and nobody believed in us, and they thought we were just absolute animals. And you gave us a chance to fight in your property.
Well, they're right about that, though.
Well, yeah. somewhat. We just, yeah, I mean, it's truly an honor. It's awesome. It's your birthday. Awesome. It's Flag Day. Wonderful to represent this country. You know, these guys aren't from this country, but I'm sure it's an honor for them as well. But I think we'd be 10 years behind if it wasn't for you. And so thank you for that.
Well, Justin, it's great being with you. You know, what he's saying is right. They couldn't get, Dana says it better than anybody can say it. They couldn't get any arenas because it was so violent that they couldn't get arenas. I was able to give them, I guess, the first 4 or 5 fights.
Yep.
And I went and I said, this sport is unbelievable. They had some of the greatest fighting I've ever seen, and it's continued on. Now it's really at a new level because the talent is much greater than it was even then, and much tougher. These are the best in the world right here. So I think you could a lot of the press is going to be there. And I think this is going to be an event you're really going to like. Anybody want to say? And we have all of the great representatives there. They're making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money. Look at that guy over there. Don't fight that one right there. But do you have anything to say? How about you?
Me?
Manager?
You know, like Justin said, without President Trump, probably the UFC will be 20 years behind. He gave us the jump start from the beginning. And I think this is going to be the greatest sport event ever created on planet Earth. It's going to be the most watched sport event on planet Earth. What an honor to fight on the ground, red and white and blue. You know, I know Justin is only American, but he's an honor guy from France, Spain, Brazil. But America is the dream. All those guys live in the American dream, and all of us live in an American dream. It's an honor to be in Oval Office, and it's an honor to have a president actually welcome the people. You know, welcome the people. Most of the president is just too good to do other things with other people. But this is the greatest president of all the time in any country, in any world, in any time. And thank you, President Trump. Thank you.
I like him. That was I made a good move by asking him to say something. That was very good. Thank you. I really do. I appreciate it. Well, you're one of the greats and one of the great managers too, and a very good friend of a very special fighter that we know, right?
Yes, sir.
Khabib,
Yes, Khabib.
who fought 29 fights. I think he won 29 fights, right?
Yes, sir.
He had a tough fight with this guy right here.
I was his 29th.
That was your. that was some fight. So they're going to be going outside. Would you guys, anybody like to say something? I mean, if you want.
We want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to build the biggest event in sports history. I also want to thank God to give us this beautiful day and to give us the opportunity to experience how it feels to be in our Oval Office. So it's going to be amazing, and we want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much. And I never thought you will be so kind.
Well, I have a false image.
Yeah.
So normal.
And why you wanted to give the toughest test to you, to friend of
To which?
you, the friend of you. You said he's friend of you.
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to give him the
Because he knows that's what I
test.
want.
I do want to give. I want to give the hardest test. Is right. We're going to give the hardest test, and actually, each one of you are fighting your hardest test. I think, right?
Yeah.
How do you think you know your opponent very well? Very tough.
I know
How do
him.
you
Very
think?
tough opponent.
Do you feel good?
Very good.
What are your chances of winning?
Me?
Yeah.
I have complete faith.
100%.
100%. That's why you're here.
And they believe that too. Would you like to
And
say
I hope
something?
he has the same faith.
That's right.
That's going to make an amazing fight.
It's going to be great. Yeah. That's right. Would you like to say
Queria
something?
agradecer a oportunidade de estar lutando na Casa Branca, como o senhor falou. Um evento único, onde todos queriam estar lutando e a gente está fazendo parte desse feito tão especial.
I would like to thank the opportunity to be fighting on the White House. We know it's a special event that everybody would like to be present to make me feel special. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the greatest punches in the history of the business. I just shook his head. Here's a large hand. That's a powerful hand. It's they're very unusual people, born with great talent, and then they honed the talent. I'll save you for last, okay? Because he loves his country so much. But I'll save you for last.
Yes, sir.
Please, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. It's an honor. I'm really proud. It's going to be really special one time in your life. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here.
It's an honor, yeah. Me too.
And we'll all be there watching, and you guys are something special, so we're going to all be there watching.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know how the hell you do it, but they wouldn't have it any other way. They love the sport. They really love the sport. They come out of a ring or the most incredible fight you've ever seen, and they say, this is the greatest sport. I could do it. I'd rather sink a 3-footer personally, but there's no better thing to watch than this. And Justin is known as just one of the truly, obviously talented and everything else, but he's got more heart, and he just has an ability. They call it a motor. He's got a motor that doesn't stop, and it all starts right up here.
Yep, here and here. And I mean, I learned that going up to small town Safford, Arizona. Copper, cattle, and cotton. That's what we do down there. 3 generations in the copper mine. So, yeah, like you said, none of us come from opportunity or wealth. And this is one of the truest merit-based systems in the world, this sport right here. Everybody has an opportunity, and we all get a chance, and we will get a chance. And so, of course, my faith is as strong as his. And I've committed my whole life to this. And so, to have a president that's willing to go against an upstream and against the norms, it is truly special. It's why you got my vote, and it's why we're such a great nation right now, compared to where we were.
Well, we all love you. He's got a tremendous fan base. Each one of these people, these in the sporting world, really, because I think most of the sporting world is watching the UFC. But Dana White was here last night. We were talking about it. He said they've never had anything like what's happening. The problem was everybody wanted to fight. We had so many guys. They're all saying we want to fight at the White House.
Well, they all said we don't want to because of optics, and then they cried when they didn't get on it. So.
That's right. Yeah, now they're crying.
Now they're crying.
That's true. But anyway, so they're going to go outside. They're going to have some pictures taken on the balcony, the Truman balcony. I think they're going up to Truman, and there's a beautiful balcony on the White House. And do you have any questions? Only for the fighters now, I think, they want to ask about Iran and a couple of other things.
I can try on Iran.
Go ahead.
Look, I'll bridge this. Here you
I
go.
guess that's fighting also.
Wait, this will work.
You're facing an opponent right now in Iran that has refused to submit. You seem optimistic now that you may be closer to a deal. What's different about this moment now than in other moments where a deal has seemed close?
Well, why do you say they refused to submit? You don't know that. You don't know what's going on.
They were firing on U.S. ships a few days ago.
Yeah, no, a few days ago is a long time ago. You know, in the world of war, a few days ago. No, they want to make a deal badly, and we'll see if we get there. If we get there, they can't have nuclear weapons. You know, it's very simple. But what's not to submit? So they had a Navy with 159 ships, and now every ship is blown to pieces and lying at the bottom of the water. They had an Air Force, lots of planes.